Hanya, I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to call up to just a continuation of the what Wilton spoke to kinship and kistunnon ken Siksikaitsitapi Conference. So right now we want to hear from the other tribes here. I'm going to ask Herman to come on up. Herman, yellow old woman from Siksika. And Mark, strikes with a gun from Piikani. Is he here? Mark? Oh, good. All right, Mark, stay right where you are. I'm going to go get a beautiful napiaki to bring the mic to you. That should spark some memory. Okay. So we'll have, I guess we'll start with Herman here, and then we'll go down to Mark. So, and then right after that, we just have one, then I'm going to call up a few more, and then we'll finish off that part of it. Okay? Okay, Napi. Okay. Is that Veronica and them? Kipp from Siksikaitsitapi Piikani can come on up. So it's always good to hear these stories. You know, sometimes we kind of forget. We need to take time to learn from Mutsi Umkitapits, those that know, and not necessarily Umkitapits. There's a lot of young people that do a lot of research. And we're going to see some examples of that also. But it's good to hear these, our legacy, how we're all related, and how you're related to your wife. Jokes. We're going to straighten out some things here before the weekend's over. I don't think you can go back to your room tonight. I'm kidding. Okay, Napia.
Niitsikaitsitapi ni sasa mukamu tanio. Kitkana eksabatsim khpuanakka Siksika. Those of you that don't know me, I know there's many of you here that I've seen for the first time. I'm Herman, yellow old woman from Siksika. The furthest north you can go on the Blackfoot tribes. I guess get some leaders over here. I'm a man from many tribes, and I too have ties to these Arapahoe people. My great-grandfather was Jim Manybraids. Akayamstinima. You heard Travis use that name. He uses plaited hair. It's not plaited hair. The French changed it to plaited hair. It's many braids. Akayamstinima. So I want you to change your name while you're on council. Jim was a full-blooded Grovant from Hayes, Montana. And the Grovant and the Arapahoe people, they speak the same language, right? They're the same people. So, you have a lot of relatives here. Chief Roy Fox's wife and mother-in-law, and there's a lot of us here. We're half Grovant. We have some elderly ladies over here that are my sisters are acting different to me here. Now I get a wave. All morning they're avoiding me. Usually if I don't go say hello to them, they get mad at me. Oh, but we have ties to this tribe too, because our great grandfather Jim Manybraids was a full-blooded Grovan, and there's relatives here, Boyers. We're going to meet with them this evening and find out a little more ties here. My grandmother was a Siksikaki from Siksika, and her name was Red Morning. She was a daughter of Red Morning. So I'm going to make it clear today with a lot of you think plaited hairs are bloods. They're not bloods. They got no business in the bloods. Plaited hair's mother or grandmother was Red Morning, and their dad was Jim Manybraids. So there's no ties to the bloods whatsoever. Oh, sorry, you might not vote for Travis now. But we got a lot of family there, tail feathers, chief bodies. And so we're going to talk a little bit about kinship. In Blackfoot, we say Iyuhkoatsi. And I've asked around about what's the meaning behind Iyuhkoatsiks. Iyuhkoatsiks is just looking at each other here. We benefit to each other some way or another. That's what it means. We're stronger. As you hear, they say we unite. When we unite, we become powerful. That's basically what Iyuhkoatsiks, clan. And each clan in Siksika today, we have 26 or 27 clans that are still in existence. And amongst the Blackfoot, and I don't know how it works with Guyana. I heard that Guyana follows the mother's side. I don't know about Piikani. I don't know about Piikani, but I know in Siksika you follow your father's clan, your great grandfather. That's who you follow. You are going to benefit from the life of your father. How you change from clans is your daughters marry different men to different clans. And kikako muhka kipaitapi sinon istoyisatsis. Respect. And that's where it's very strong in our clan ways, is the respect. And our people were very bold, like how Travis was saying, you're going to find out that your wife is your relative. And it's almost true today because of the fact that we don't follow our clan ways anymore. If we had followed our clan ways, we would respect and our ways very strong. So, as we know in the Western kinship, you heard this morning, there's no such thing as aunts and uncles. There's no such thing as cousins. There's no such thing as my great aunt or my great uncle. We don't have that in our clan system. And I can only speak about Siksika because Siksika is all I know. I used to think that I knew about the bloods, but now when I found out that there are little differences between the Blackfoot Confederacy, that we don't follow the exact same clan way. So, nistunnan amma kaaksa, your great-grandfather to myself. I'm a direct descendant to a clan called Siksika. Nach Siksikaitsitapi Conference, Siksika. Some people call them lying clan. It's not lying, it's aggressive. Aggressive clan. Siksikaitsitapi is lying. And so, and I can go back with on my father's side quite a ways. Myself, Natu Tsasio. Ninanista Apsoyus. Weasel tail. His father, Anista Itsuya Potsim. Man amongst battle or in battle. Itsuya Potsim. Unnanista Aponistachs. Weasel calf. Weasel calf unnansta stomachsixinam. And and then on. Those are a direct descendant from me. I can't speak about my sisters because many of them have married off into different clans. Okay, ito miya kitsote itsinapsia. Kemuka in-law respect, we still try to follow that. But kistono niskochikama kaachsinonix utwapimix. They're all our grandfathers, all their relatives, they're all our grandfolks. The male or female, they're all grandfathers and grandmothers. Kinnon utpapimik kitkanon ni mataya. Kitkanoksimaya. Your father's siblings are all your fathers and mothers. Your mother's nitoy. Your mother's siblings are also your fathers and your mothers. Ikisto. Kinokatsisista papapim. If they're older, G6. The male, older male, G6. Older female, Gin6. Nisto as a male, the younger siblings, Niskanya. But the women say it different. Women have their own words to claim their siblings. Our children are all our children. And our grandchildren are all our grandchildren. No such thing as cousins. They're all brothers and sisters below me. The purpose of that is authority. Authority over our children. Kuku sinonix. Ihkanito tkakyop. Anak agitanoa ma pukao agakasamao. Gimadak si mao. Gimadak sukitsichtata. Gimadak sikkitschtata kuku six. Anyo kanihka madatsituti sapopa kibata piksinon. It is because we do not follow our clan way anymore. The importance of our children. Because today a child will be doing something that he or she's not supposed to be doing right in your sight. And you're just going to watch that child. Unless it's your own or maybe a sibling. Then you may say, hey, that's enough. You're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. Back in the day, we were all responsible for correcting. It was all a responsibility that our children do well. Gitse pamuka discipline was all a responsibility, especially within our clan. Iskukchika, when it comes to children, you didn't have to be in the clan to discipline. You, as long as it's within your tribe, your community, your responsibility in raising your children, that was all our responsibility. And so today, it's different. You see that in our community. They're very destructive. They want to wreck things. And you go, somebody said you can drive into a community and you can see how our communities are all alike. That's because of that disconnect. And the disconnect didn't come from us. It came from residential school, and it came from that teaching where you didn't know how to be responsible for your children anymore because they took them away. Genug. We try to teach those values back to our children in our schools, in our circles, that this is our way. Our grandfolks and our ancestors, this is the way they had authority over our children. And so I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about who I am, what I do. Most of you know that I am a ceremonial elder among Siksika tribe. And I've been brought up in both worlds, in the Christian world and in the traditional world. And but in the last 8 years, I've been teaching in the Ulsan Community College. In that, we talk about the disconnect and reconnect. And the disconnect, we want our people to know what the disconnect is, and that's residential school, and then the effects was alcohol, drugs, all this stuff. And now we're getting to a point where the generation that we're teaching in the college, they don't know the language, and they don't know the teachings, they don't know the connection between themselves and our ancestors. So we're trying to restore that, reconnect our children in Siksika that are fathers and mothers, and some of them even grandmothers. And they're only like in their late 20s and early 30s. Whereas Gistunnon, you're still almost a child at that age. And yet we have adults that are grandparents. And so we're trying to restore that. And I'm sure that is the same in all the communities. Whereas we're losing our language. And we're trying to connect with Koko Synonix. Niitsitapi for them to understand in their language and what they speak, that they're connected to the language that they're speaking. And Kistunna nawan yopa kipatapi sinon nidap kanoa tsimapi. Our way of life is all sacred. There's nothing in being a Siksikeko and Siksikaki that is not sacred. It is all sacred. You hear the songs that we sang for. Those songs have been passed down from Niitsitapi to today. Our elders have transferred those ways. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about that. I know there's Gigi and somebody else. This is what we teach at home, is to reconnect through the teachings of our clan ways, our names, the songs. Akatamin motsios. To look at us as all important part of that circle, the clan. Isikakitsim as to say that you're all important, your ways are valuable. Everybody has something good to contribute to our way of life, even if it's just a little. If you can say sa every day, that's going to be good to restore our language. And we're not contributing to this, passing our language on to the next, because we're speaking English to our children, our grandchildren. We need to change that. We need to. We got a beautiful language, and we gotta maintain it by using it. And kamoksi itatex ayohtukia aepuyos matskni pustoa kamochate isuki tsipuatosa kamawaista matskatosa kistunnon ihteno soap. And we don't know each other, but I'm going to say that in public gatherings like this, it's a front, because we're not teaching it at home. We act like we're doing it at home, but we're not. We need to encourage each other to bring those back, because for me, in order for me to be a speaker today, I heard it at home. I didn't go to school to learn my language. I heard it right in my home. As soon as I woke up in the morning until I put my head down to sleep, I heard the language. Our prayers, same thing. And nakamuksi kitohtoa kinninex ania kichikakum. As the ending of their presentation is say, I love you. We gotta mean that, because amongst love is all these teachings of our ancestral ways, especially our language. So, ika kimak. I always say that when I come to this conference, whenever I get a chance to talk, I always say, ika kimak. Minumatskoch satok. Don't give up. Try hard for these ways to continue. So kenne dagoch kitu tkana noch ksistikui kitkano akumem khboa iksmatsim khboan.
Good afternoon. Pretty tough act to follow. Some of the people. I was going to talk about the stuff that Wilton and Herman talked about, but they talked more than I knew, and I learned some stuff from them already. So I'll take it in a little different direction. Just to revamp a few items over there is that Wilton talking about the clans and the bands. Awanaki, my daughter, asked me, what's the difference between clan and band? I said, it's just over in Canada, it's clans, just like over here it's bands. This is like they say schedule and we say scheduled, but it means the same thing. But anyway, the kinship and how and responsibility of bands is it kind of melts down, goes down. Wilton talked a little bit about the Okan this morning. Just to add a little bit about that was that one of the things that I was instructed years ago by an elder, make sure you verify it gives you the right to talk about something. In 1979, Joe Crowshoe transferred Okan to me, my niece. We said holy. So it gives me the right to kind of mention the Okan once in a while. but I'll come back to that. But what Wilton informed you is that it's very true. The government structure of our tribes, of our bands, is based upon the Okan, the 12 poles in the center pole. The holy woman's responsibility was to give out tobacco to 12 band leaders to come to the Okan. And their responsibility was the upright, the cross member, the runner-up, and the brush for that patch. And she'd send out the 12 tobaccos to the band leaders in order to make sure she had a complete Okan. The center pole, that was the head, it represents the head leader in our government structure. That's your chief. So the Siksika, the Kainai, the Piikani up there, they all have 13 councilmen, because that's what your whole governmental structure is based upon. The band leader, he would get a center pole, or he would get a pole. And it was very democratic the way they selected that. There's a transfer that you go through to get cut that. There's cool stories, there's paint, and some other stuff that goes with it. And that band was responsible for that area. And that's how you get your circle. The thing there is that if that band leader that had that pole passed away, how would they select the next leader? And there might be 2 or 3 in that band that would run to be the next leader. The other poles would look at them and would get ready to break camp and move. They would count the teepees and which one went where. One of the ones would say, I'm going to go to Sun River. I'm going to go to the Sweetgrass Hills. And the one with the most lodges, that was who would get the transfer. And that holy transfer was ceremonial, and it kept that people in line. So that's how your councils were formulated. The center pole was the chief. He could not represent not one individual. He had to represent all the runners, all the band. So that's just a little more information on the Okan there. The other items is that we talk about relationship. The other type of relationships is that our tribes, within our cultural structure and our social structure, we didn't have orphans. We didn't have no type of we took care of ourselves in a social norm that benefited that everybody was well taken care of. And I'll relate a story that was told to me by George Kickenwoman. George Kickenwoman, these rider children, old Joe Eaglechild, Piikani, got pretty old. And I kind of noticed that there's girls, these rider girls, bring him food, get his laundry, take care of him. I said, George, how are they related? He told me, he said, their dad, Jim Ryder, and Joe Eaglechild were partners. Wherever you'd see one, you'd see the other. And when he passed away, Joe Eaglechild went over and told those children, I'm your father now. He said, that's so, if anybody ever asks those kids, where's your dad? They don't say he's gone. Say, oh, there he is, he's walking. So everybody always had fathers and mothers. There was no orphans. So you look into other type of relationships besides just blood. Now we have to look in towards ceremonial relationships. When I talked about the Okan, Joe Crowshoe and his wife, Josephine, transferred to me in 79. After that transfer, he became my holy father. And that old man and I, along with it, how to high esteem that relationship all through our lives. Does that mean that I'm also related to each and every one of his children? That's additional relationships. Yes, it is. When Joe passed away, I was notified and I come on up. Another relationship that I have is this Louise Cropbeard Wolf. Conrad the Farm Boys, Woody Kipp and I were Joe Cropbeard Wolf's friends over at the University of Montana. When he had his accident and passed on, Louise took us for her sons. And that relationship, all of Louise's son, Maybelle, and her sisters, and them all, I consider them all my sisters. So there were other kinships. And then 40 years ago, but a lot of bands, and they had certain religious items, bundles and so forth that they depended upon and kept close to them. So when they was transferred, it was kind of transferred into bands, and bands are probably made up of blood relatives, but sometimes you went outside. But 40 years ago, Louis Fish and Emma, his wife, they're my relations, blood relations. Their grandsons is Pat and his brother there, grandchildren. But he transferred Istakuma Queenamon to my wife and I 40 years ago, and so he become my holy father, besides being my grandfather, my holy father, and my mother. So although children, although I am blood related to them, they would also be my relations in a ceremonial way. So that's a lot more relations. Last year, after 39 years, I ended up transferring, my wife and I, Melinda, we transferred that sacred bundle to our grandson and his wife. And boy, picked up those songs pretty quickly. But anyway, I'm his grandfather. Now he could say I'm also his father in the ceremonial way. Then about 20 some years ago, Mike Simsunder, he has a pretty big family. He transferred to me the Bunigis Queenon, Kistakiks. Good ceremony. Now, Mike and also Beverly Hungry Wolf was on the woman's side to my wife. So they would be considered our holy parents in the Beaver Society. We kept that bundle for quite a few years now. My daughter and my son-in-law, they have that. Then we had, a couple of years ago, we had the Indikia Queenamon. Indikia Queenamon is one of the oldest bundles that we have in all of our structure. When the son gave us the Indikia Queenamon bundles, he gave 2 to the Piikani, 2 to the Siksika, and 2 to the Kainai. That there's Caesars, police pipes, they're the society. They're the structure of the societies. They're up to the second to right under the old Bull Society. But anyway, that ceremony was transferred to us, and I have a brother-in-law who also had one of those, Virgil Bull Shoe, and his sister Marilyn, and they transferred to us the Indikia Queenamon. But that doesn't complicate things too far, as in blood and also ceremonial, because we're from the same band. My wife's bands is the Lone Eaters and the Skunk Band. Mine is the Grease Melters, and on my grandma's side, Mary Grounds, it's the Buffalo Dun Band. But anyway, so your expansion of your relationships go a long ways. And how do they take that? And how do they react to that stuff? My grandma Grounds, my brother, got married over on the blood. He brought his wife over, and talking to my grandma Grounds, who's 100 years old, she started questioning her, "Who are you?" And she went way back. She said, my grandma Grounds said, "I don't know." I mean, they're talking about 6 or 7, 8 generations back. And she says, I think you're related. And this girl says, no, my grandfather was adopted. That's how he got that name. He's not blood. That makes no difference. If you're adopted or if you're there, you'll still be related. So that was an old lady from the Buffalo days and how they interpreted relationships. So nowadays we have to kind of keep our bloodlines clear, and you have to really have respect for that. You have to have somebody in your family that knows those relationships. And I have never been confronted or been with about the ceremonial relationships and how that responds to the children. I'm pretty sure it's just held to the generation that transferred. Anyway, I was asked that one time, and I really didn't have the answer. It takes someone more in depth than I to know that one. But the other item is that along within the bands and clans, there's certain relationships. There's an old story about the father, the son and mother-in-law never did talk. And there's an old story that says where this man walked in. He wasn't married to any of the family, and he walked in. He seen this old lady walked face to face her coming out of the teepee. He went back, couldn't get a horse. What you getting that horse for? So I just ran into that old lady. I met her head on, and I'm gonna have to give her my good horse. And his friend told him, "Oh, you're not married to your daughter." He says, "I know." He says, "But I plan on being, so I'm just going to get ahead of the game." But it's very, very, very. I'm sitting over here. My mother-in-law is Molly over there. She's 100 years old. Huh? I come in, but I don't sit at the same table as her. So I have to sit with the councilman. I'd much rather be sitting over there with my family. No, I have my relations also. But the thing is that we don't talk. We haven't talked for years, but she's never forgotten my birthday or any other item, stuff that we get along well. And I always tell these young guys, there's a reason for that. A son-in-law is never good enough for a daughter. And if you never speak to your mother-in-law, you'll never get into any problems with her. But if you give her the opportunity to tell her what she thinks of you, it's not going to be good for you. So, in closing, I'm just going to say, I think you're pretty well clear that the clans, the bands, their responsibilities, the relationships, blood, and ceremonial, they have to be continuously built up and starting to be recorded and by members of each and every individual family. Thank you.
My second go round. The clans that we call clans are the same as the bands, as you heard. They have a song. Every band or clan has a song. And the purpose for that, as I mentioned at the start, we honor each other, our children, our elders. In the community, Ponokomita, Anamex, Sam, Nepesti, Genoch doch pommo, Skochik Majit Sip ich doch pommo, I Krigo, Noka, Ganabesi sich doch pommo, Bichtais the Biop. So we all owned a song, whatever clan you came from. Is to honor. Like this morning, we sang a song for that old lady over there that turned 100. That's a big accomplishment to get that age today. My mom, 94 years old, and we cherish my mom, and we honor her every year with the birthday and sing her the clan song, and And today, that's where we're disconnect, is many of our clans don't remember or don't know their song anymore. And in order for you clans to be strong again, you need a song to honor each other. And never borrow. You always get you get something on your own. And so we need to bring that part back of singing these songs. I'm going to sing my clan song, and I know amongst the Blackfoot Confederacy, there's Saiks throughout. So if you know you belong to the Saiks, I want you to stand as I sing. But if you just want to stand, go ahead. And this is the song that we use for Saiks in Siksika. And then I'll go sit down after that.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We got one more, and I'll sing the clan song of the Gross Ventures. Ha. Since I'm no longer a blood Indian. Okay. Oh, not. Yeah, the things you learn at the Blackfoot Confederacy Conference. Huh? Okay. Hispanic. Okay.
Okay, Niksokwax. Niitsitapi Kinship. English name is Mark Strexerigan, an elder from the Piikani Nation, Blackfoot, and I'm 92 years young. I'd like to share a story with the Niksokwax. Kasi namin nung nagspata sa puto. Ang nagsayang puto ki. Kaya magnatskindi namin na naspoksoy man nokko. O kaya mo am skapi Piikani o sinay mo kaya na wa Siksika wa kiniston na nami Piikani. Ikaw tato mga psi mo kasi kisinay mo kiyogumiksi makoto kinokato tuiks. Iki ko gani kaya apa puto kia. Ako mo kaya sukapi ak nukakusapata piyosan. O kaya na kutsitsini kokpoa. Me kuskoksik. In the 30s, just about 1932, And when I came to know what life was really like at that time, I was 5 years old, but my parents used to visit all over the reserve. It was horse and buggy days, and there's no radio, nothing, TV. Mostly people visit each other. So my parents visit a lot, so I know quite a bit about. It's just a small reserve. We had full clans, 5 clans. There's the Furnos clan in Muskasi, Eastern Reserve. And the next part of it is the Crowlard by Stoko clan. Kini matasti Scots Cooley. Okay, I meet to Weasel Bush. Kini I meet to High Bush. Siksikaitsitapi. Penny man ito Sitopi ne stui. No muksi tsakone kasabupi sa River Valley. Kaya mo umukstispi ni tsakona Piikani. Ikon na tabi sa pupik. Kikani muksi Sitopi okay. Iko to the my piece. Stomata okay. Okay. Kimata kutaya. Stoi. Gitao you so. Anne to Miska no I could Siksika man way. And the case Niitsitapi Gam so me right from the Pinapoti to the West End. Moxie Matapik is some kind of spamochi. They help one another, each clan. And Moxie 5 clans. They all help one another. It's like a big family. It's like we're sitting here in the table. Big family. And we help one another. So we never, to me, I always tell my people is that we never felt the hunger 30s. Niitsitapi master. We'll help one another. We never see our people feeling down or out of something. We're always there to help them. There's always somebody there to help these people. So we never had that because we had no money, but we had friends, we had love, everything, all that. Put it into this clan to help each other. And that's what kept us up. So we never felt the hunger 30s. Not because ikti scenario. Gusto no na Niitsitapi way back in the I don't know how many 100 years. Then people, how they lived, we lived up to that time. So when we hit hunger 30s, we hardly felt it. But we were still there. And we went out of it to 30, 40, and into the 40s. And that's why these people lived all in that valley. And the people that lived on the outskirts, they all had springs going by their houses. There's only 5 families that lived outside of the clan, which was, and they had their own, everybody had team of horses, everybody had gardens, and they had chickens, and so we helped one another. We never was anybody to go hungry or things like that. Maybe some do, but we always there to help those we knew that was happening. And then our ceremonies, our Sundance, sweats, bundle ceremonies, tobacco ceremonies, and all this was going every year as it goes on. Till I went to school in 1939. All I knew was that. I never knew a word of English. I didn't even know what no means. I didn't even know what yes means. And then that changed my life when I went to school. I was put into to be white man right there that day I went to school when I didn't know nothing about English. I was just a full-blooded Indian boy, a 7-year-old boy. One thing bad happened to me was when I went to school before we was given at the residential school, we was given a yard to play in. While we was playing there, the ball went out of the yard. And there's always somebody in the classrooms, the windows looking out towards us. Somebody must have seen me run us out to the yard, pick up that ball and throw it back in. When we all went back in, my brother came. He said, he was supposed to go see that, the matron wants you over there. So he brought me over there, and he told me, Kidak you're going to get striping on your hands 4 times on each hand. And so he had a stripe about that long and about an inch wide. He came over, he gave me 4 slaps on this and 4 slaps on that. And then he must have told me if I had enough, yes or no. And I told him no, which means that I needed more. Eh? I just told him yes, I got enough. But I told him no. So I gave him another 4 more. So that was the morning, because there's a big change in that. The people, the Indian affairs, Canada tried to take our ceremonies away from us. Sundance, all these names that I named before. They tried to take them away, and in school, my life seemed to be different. I had to do what the white man told us to do, the preacher and the matrons. I couldn't even speak Blackfoot. And yet I don't even know how to talk English. And one time I got caught talking Blackfoot. They sent me to the corner for 10 minutes with a clothespin on my tongue. And I had to stand there for 10 minutes in the corner. And another time it happened, they sent me to bed without supper. These are the things that happened. It made me change. And one time, Sunday school teacher told us that our ceremonial customs were all not bad. They were bad. They were not true. That the only true that you can make to heaven is that place, the church. It was the St. Cyprian Church, Anglican Church. He said these are the only true beliefs in life that you make it to heaven or else you go to hell. And another thing is that as Niitsitapi, I never heard when I was young, even was growing up when I went to school, to hear Omakakpakwitsi. I don't think we had it. When somebody passes away, people would say, "Akaita po, umakspatsikoi, itamskako." Matatskoi maskam smakapitistani. Maton mayoksi pamaknisi. Akaita po makakpakoi. Say matskani pakistom no makakpakoi. Moksi nati apikoksi utot sannik say skokkiawe. Itokitsi kiskristan non. Anenanis sanni. Smokitsi me kimama. There's another school that won't be opposite. Matani school. Matukabo, tapi ako na ito po ya humakakpakwitsi. Niitsitapi pinapitapi surbi the big glass wall. I know what see you. Muksääkin tätsi ja mits koma pistas pidä. Haksika kiitskaaja. Tästä muksia kiiksi pinapaa kiiksi. Haksi puotsia. Hän nyksi onkin muksi nää tiedäpi kueks. Amskais kokkia. Nohtaessa puolakkoutsi. Sokaapi on suohotsiksi mistä tuolla. Iklipsapsi. Niin sitä piipuissa niin tuuttuvuuksia. Kiikin ei skanimia. Utsipsapsua. And Honopopi. While we are here is staple of Niitsitapi, we could see books and on the Hainis. Stamaksi punista Yahweh. Can niin Utsipsapsia. Utsaksabakkistuna naksapi koona suus. Kiikin matakan stiivat. Kistuna Siksikaitsitapi of Niitsitapi. Maatsupai, hakituu täältä viimeksi nohkivaamme. Haksapiitsohjaamme, tätä aikapistua. Matakoskana. Kenen niistä päätäpiu, satamukaan ei tuvannisti. Ikikimmutsiu. Hänen on skrivni päätäpiis. Niin knäpikoiksi ikskä johkiitsu puuttuu kiepus. Nohkitaumeita kivusat konottuvuuksia. Kiikjohpommatuu myöskin täistä panitskatuum. Mä naaksa, minä tuoma beaver bundle, mäkin säännöstä, utohkapsi mä, ne kristi tuutsimme. Kenjoksta mitästiikin mä ankul, hi tuuttui, hi tinsi mä madaka hi trapsi. Hi tuuttuu mä ankul, hi tinsi mä dad. Mä muokitaapi maskapsi päinikris. Hamsi nakkuutsi pitäkitsi tohtua. Keikeis ei ensi takitski kakitskuutsi puhua. He tapskatuumest. Ne manskuutsi pinnään about 10-12 years ago. Hams bandu. Ja kakoi tännekinä nimiksi jakakstamiksi. Kita kapsat mukpinan bandu plastik taktaut. Ini miskimmis. Kiusi tapas. Plastik aktuu tapastut siipiä. Kiakitskukutsi puhua. Miksi tohkuiksi niissä saa. We don't want that. Musti nii tapanista piiaamusti. Naaksena next business years that bandu's been on there. In the Nestunna Niitsitapi minnääneksi. Kiiki vattanisti niinskiasis skanenskas American 200-300 years ago. And today that bundle niituisi jokin ni soi niitsksis sakehtako jauvan. Niin niitskonetäpi nokonistaumeitakin. Kennekin nokonisti kiikin matskani miitsi päätäpiisinä. Nyt sen ei minään yksi. Mata ja piipui. Iksi maasti sessamahka ja interpreter. Kenne ässätsi vaikka till way into the foodisi tohkiit, mata pohkiitsi. Ken hakaiksi sokapsikin sen ei minnuun yksi. Taskani käännävä Siksikawa. Saksessa kitäkin. Sinne minun skapkoni tämän saapuutakin. Haukaks meiksi hakohtsimia ja hakasmia. Ai kriiskanäpsi, konetapsi, kitsit. Hämmäksi on sinne mua vaikka. Kähkänes siitä ja kiken kai omata pohtoki. Kitsit mieksi ja kotiitsekakki. Kenen itse konetapsi, kitsinne minun yksi. They highly respected people. No kumukseen amen koam. Kämenis kämani mattus. Kämksi ni tänne aamuksi kämani pitää. Nykseen nuku sinnään. Nakan jupani store. I had 9 children and 2 stepchildren. 1 2 weeks ago, my oldest son Manax. Nancy Siksikaitsitapi Conference, no go six. That Niitsitapi, my stepdaughter, Gammon, go, 1 Get a quick soak up in the Homoxi. Mani Pitama Maxi, Spiwa. Selvaxita ma pinipatapis, non-stopis, Kiki, no matatopics, no papis fix, Niskanics in Nina, one quick. And then Sapa people noch. And Honokinoxinico for our no going to stop is Pinani, me, Skilk, can of Christiquisk. No Christiquisk, skate down my pen, Hononit, Honopopi. Can it down and speak, kicking Muchi of my Niitsitapi, begin Hono Dani, Pano is Honopopi. So I'm very glad for you listening to me, although I talk. Mostly Blackfoot, but most of us out here know Blackfoot anyway. So those of you that doesn't understand Blackfoot, I don't know. I have to tell the story. Well, anyway, you have some things. You hear it all. You can always get into Blackfoot. And yeah, you know, kind of squeeze neck of one exo. You get connection with some boy. And
Thank you, Mark. Strikes with a gun. Mark is 92, huh? 92 years old. He's the oldest bachelor on the pagan. Oh, it's no, he's the oldest man on the pagan nation. So, and he still drives. Did you drive here, Mark? Ito, kumatakan. Sa kita ka just tamak kumatakin 6 sapum samuk. Watch out for him. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a big round of applause. Mark, awesome.